Riveting recollection of one of the most brutal bear attacks ever recounted. This is Colin Dowler's brutal grizzly bear attack story, and trust me, you won't want to miss this. Colin Dowler, an experienced outdoorsman, setting off on a solo backpacking trip in the vast and remote wilderness of British Columbia. With nothing but his gear and his wits to guide him, Colin felt right at home as he began trekking through the thick wilderness. However, little did he know, his peaceful hike would turn into a nightmare beyond imagination. As he was approaching a narrow valley, a monstrous grizzly bear suddenly appeared out of nowhere and attacked him with extreme force. Since growing up on Quadra Island, Colin Dowler has pushed himself to do more, go faster, and reach greater heights despite a small frame and congenital knee disease. Jennifer, his wife of 16 years, often found herself telling him to slow down. When he skied, he ran the double black diamond run. When he rode his mountain bike, it was on the highest terrain. If he's not a little afraid to do something, he doesn't think he's doing it right. In July 2019, to celebrate his 45th birthday, he booked a week from his job as a maintenance manager for the Vancouver Island Health Authority in Campbell River on eastern Vancouver Island, where he lived with Jennifer and one of their daughters. He planned to spend 2 days on his own, scouting a route he'd eventually use to climb Mount Doogie Dowler with his older brother Paul. The peak, standing at around 2,000 meters in the Coast Mountains in southwestern British Columbia, was named after Colin's late grandfather. It had always been a point of pride for their family that Grandpa Doogie was immortalized in nature, but none of the Dowlers had ever climbed to its summit. Jennifer didn't like the sound of her husband's latest plan. He was used to taking Dowler on solar adventures, but this time he would be boating in an obscure bay, cycling along uninhabited roads, hiking through grizzly country, and camping alone. There was too much room for disaster. "If I'm not home by 8 o'clock Monday evening, you should start to worry," he said. Jennifer laughed. It was practically her husband's motto. Colin packs very little the night before his journey. He ditched his normal tent to experiment with a bivy sack, a person-sized portable shelter. He stuffed the remaining pockets of his bag with a handheld GPS, hiking poles, his homemade venison pepperoni, and a few other essentials. Instead of his usual Swiss Army knife, he carried a 3-inch stainless steel pocket knife given to him by his father. Jennifer, who was planning her own overnight trip with some of her family and their daughter, was still in bed when Dowler left his house at 7 a.m., his bike and boat in tow. The weather that Sunday, July 28th, was nice, which meant the parking spots at Campbell River's boat launches would fill up fast. Colin intended to stop at a tackle shop for bear spray, but as he thought about the time it would take, he drove past it, deciding the likelihood of a bear attack was small. He knew he couldn't completely rule out the possibility. In the past, he had 2 grizzly sightings and countless black bear encounters, but he always escaped unscathed. Colin pulled into the river port and quickly launched and set off in his motorboat. More than an hour later, he reached Ramsey Arm, an inlet on the mainland, and found a place to moor the ship near a logging camp. As a former worker in the logging industry, Colin knew it was good practice to check in on the mess hall. "Do you need anything?" Vito Gianandrea, the camp cook, asked him. "Bear spray," Dowler said. After finding a can, Vito partially offers him a ride. They truck along a road of overgrown trees until the forest is too thick. As Colin leaned his mountain bike into a bush on the way back, Vito took a picture of him with his phone. "So we have something to put in the milk carton if you don't come home," he joked. Colin started hiking with a bear club in one pocket and his father's knife in the other. About an hour of traversing steep terrain and dense jungle, he began marking his path with blue ribbons. He made a lot of noise to scare off any curious animals. By the end of the day, he realized that the canister of mace had run out. It must have fallen out of his pocket when he stopped to rest and check his position. But he didn't want to risk being caught in the dark looking for the spray. Instead, he spent an hour looking for a place to camp, finally settling on a flat, dry surface with branches low enough to place his bivy sack. Colin put his food and clothes high up in a nearby tree and crawled into the bivy by 9:30 p.m., satisfied with what he had accomplished that day. The next morning, Colin tried, without luck, to locate the spray on his way down the mountain. He gave up by the time he recovered his bike, then carried on, pedaling and daydreaming about getting home early to enjoy some family time and a beer or two. As he passed the 7-kilometer marker for camp-bound logging trucks, he suddenly slammed on his brakes as he neared an intersection. A mangy grizzly was standing in the middle of the narrow road 30 meters away. Colin immediately announced his presence. "Hey, bear," he shouted. He then calculated his chances of turning around for a quick escape, but the bear could easily tackle him as he sped up. The animal looked from him to the bush, back and forth, and then began heading in his direction. Colin flung his backpack off his shoulders, snatched a hiking pole, and extended it in front of him. As the bear approached, he started to make out its features. The bear was about 5 years old, 9 feet from toes to snout, and 350 pounds, nearly 3 times Colin's weight. Although it showed no signs of aggression, its curiosity was piqued. The bear walked on the opposite side of the road, coming closer and closer, until the gap between them closed to 10 meters. Colin carefully got off his bike, which seemed to startle the creature. It shuddered from paw to quiver, then shuddered closer. Colin shielded himself with his bike as the bear passed him. Then suddenly it stopped, turned, and looked at him. Colin calmly raised a hiking pole and pushed it against the bear's big forehead right between the eyes. This held the bear in place until the rubber tip rolled down and off its muzzle. Before Colin could try again, the bear chomped on the pole. "Oh, come on now, we don't need to do this," he said, careful to not react aggressively. "I'm your friend." Colin let the pole drop. He tossed his backpack beside the bear, hoping the pepperoni scent would entice him away. One sniff, and the bear turned back with his paw in the air, then delivered a light swat that Colin blocked with his bike. He then dodged a second, heavier swat, and another, each stronger than the last. Colin recounted that the bear's first attack caused him to collapse to the ground, disoriented and bleeding profusely. The grizzly predator then continued to maul Colin with its teeth and claws, while he scrambled to reach for his can of bear spray. Despite fighting for his life, Colin was eventually overwhelmed by the beast and went unconscious. He lay there motionless, bleeding out in the middle of nowhere, with only the grizzly bear and the vast wilderness for company. After a while, Colin regained his consciousness, only to find out that the bear was still just a few feet away, still on top of him, ready to continue its brutal attack. With no other option, Colin grabbed the bear spray and sprayed it directly in the bear's face, which finally stopped the beast rampage. At this point, I can only imagine the degree of physical and emotional pain Colin must have been going through. Miraculously, Colin managed to whisper for help, and a group of hikers heard his faint voice and came to his rescue. If it weren't for their timely assistance, he would have certainly died from his injuries. This adrenaline-fueled tale of Colin Dowler's journey back from the brink of death and his recovery is nothing short of remarkable. He made it out of the wilderness alive, and his tragic but inspiring story stands as a testament to the sheer capacity of human resilience and courage. So, that's it for today's recounting of Colin Dowler's brutal bear attack story. Hopefully, you enjoyed the video and will share this story with others. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates from us. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for watching.